Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. Super Bowl 50 is here, and of course, usually the most profitable way to bet the Super Bowl is on props and quarterback play, expectations for how quarterbacks are going to do and what we can expect for the game plans from both teams and both quarterbacks. Figures into almost every prop bet that you can make. And we are going to talk right now with SBR contributor Doug Upstone to get his sense and his thoughts on what we might expect from both Cam Newton and Peyton Manning in Super Bowl 50. Doug Upstone, thanks for being with us. So what can you tell us about the expected play and expected performance from both quarterbacks in Super Bowl 50?
Well, Peter, other than the fact that the best offense is going against the best defense, I think the most compelling thing about this game is the two quarterbacks, because we're talking about a quarterback who is, in Peyton Manning, who is at the end of the line, and I think he admits as much, and against the guy that maybe will end up taking his place, the younger guy in Cam Newton, who is just starting to really get going in his career. So I think it's a really fascinating matchup. Now, when I look at Cam Newton, I see somebody who was last year during the course of the season, they were 3-8-1, Carolina Panthers were. And all of a sudden, for whatever reason, he kind of got it going, and they won 5 games in a row and lost to Seattle in the playoffs. Now, this year, his record has spoke for itself. They're 17-1. And even though his statistical numbers might not rival Aaron Rodgers on a year-to-year basis, this guy is a winner. And I think that what's changed about his game is that now, and why I think he's going to have some real good possibilities for prop bets, is that he reads defenses much better, and he's become a more accurate passer in a lot of routes that are important in Carolina's offense, more specifically slant routes, hitting tight ends down the seam, and outside the numbers on long passes. So I think that's a really strong attribute for him coming into this game, and I think that he will have some success, certainly against the Denver defense. I'm not saying he's going to have a great game necessarily, but I think he'll definitely will have some success.
All right, so does that mean that as of right now, you might be leaning towards overs with Cam Newton props, either on completions or yardage or rushing yards, something like that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, rushing yards will certainly be in the mix. And and obviously, kind of depending how the game plays out, I could see some passing stuff, particularly encompassing Greg Olsen, the tight end, where I think you have some big plays that would be potentially there, because we don't know exactly how healthy or unhealthy the Denver safeties are going to be. Yeah. Now, looking further at Peyton Manning, the sheriff, he's at the end of the line. If you look at his numbers this year, well, there's not much to go by. They weren't very good. But I do give him credit, and I think he's a better quarterback today than he was 2 months ago, because first of all, he's healthier than he was 2 months ago. So I think that's made him a more accurate passer once again. And you've seen a few more miles per hour on his throws, and he's just getting the ball to his receivers in better time. And he's also being a lot more careful with the ball, which in terms of one of the props, was going to be interceptions and fumbles for Manning. I would think at this point we're looking more at an under, from him because of the job that he's doing. In terms of some of the other things, in terms of passing yards, I'm not 100% sure that, what the numbers actually are, if he's an overplay there. But in terms of scoring, I can certainly see, depending what the number is, I can see Denver getting up to 20 or more points, depending on, sort of how the game plays, and looking a little bit further down the road.
All right, and then what do you anticipate from Peyton Manning? We might see a very conservative game plan offensively from Denver, and of course, Carolina can have an elite defense at times when they step up and they want to have a big performance. They had a bad performance during the regular season, came back with a shutout game the next game, and they can have a very tough defense. What do you think about maybe unders with Peyton Manning props?
Yeah, I could definitely see some of the unders. Again, it all depends on the numbers themselves. But, you can look at him to be somewhere in the 175 to 200 yard range in terms of passing. Obviously, the running yards will be negligible at best. So that's not going to be a big factor. Completions is one that you might take a look at in terms of an over, because again, with the Carolina defense, if they have success on first and second down, which I think they will a good amount of the time, that's going to force Denver to throw. And the other aspect that comes into play here that you have to at least consider is that if Carolina starts hot like they have the last couple of games, that changes the game plans of every team that they have played almost all season long, forcing them to throw. So that could turn that into an over on completions.
All right, yeah, it certainly will be interesting to see where a lot of those prop numbers are when they come out, when they open. Doug Upstone, thanks so much.